Many people play the money game following completely wrong rules, and the most curious thing is that most don't even realize it. They think they're on the right path because they follow exactly what they've heard their whole life. Work hard, hold on to as much of your salary as you can, avoid risks and try to survive with what's left. But that's exactly the recipe to remain stuck in the same cycle of limitations, month after month. The person wakes up early, faces traffic, keeps to schedule, works overtime when needed, and still the money never grows. It doesn't grow because, in practice, they're using old rules that worked decades ago, in a world that no longer exists. They believe that effort is synonymous with prosperity, but the money game doesn't work that way. Nothing changes because they're applying strategies that weren't made to generate wealth. They were made only to guarantee survival. And while following these wrong rules, they look around and don't understand how other people manage to advance, conquer freedom, invest, and grow. It even seems like they have some hidden advantage. But the difference is that they learn to use new rules, rules that really make money work. The truth is simple. It doesn't matter how much you try. If you're playing with the wrong manual, the result will always be the same. And that's why so many people keep working non-stop and don't get anywhere. That's why so many people spend their entire lives believing they lack luck, lack opportunity, lack recognition, when, in reality, what's lacking is understanding how money really works. Working hard makes you survive. Managing well makes you prosper. And this is where I open the viewer's eyes. It's not about having a good job, because a good job depends on your time, and time has limits. It's not about saving every coin, because just keeping money doesn't multiply anything. And it's not about waiting for something to happen, because waiting doesn't build wealth. What really separates those who get rich from those who remain in the same place is simple. Money always runs toward those who know what they're doing with it. It flows to those who understand the right rules. It grows in the hands of those who learn to manage it, multiply it, and put it in motion. Meanwhile, those who follow the wrong rules end up trapped in a cycle that seems endless. Earn, pay bills, try to save a little. An unexpected expense comes up, lose what was saved, start from zero, and the feeling is of never getting anywhere. And this is the central point of the video's beginning. You're not stuck because you don't work enough. You're stuck because they taught you the wrong rules, and nobody wins a game playing with the wrong manual. Rule number 1, luck has nothing to do with wealth. The real difference is in systems. While many people wait for something to change in life, those who get rich build mechanisms that work every day, with or without their presence. Systems are investments that grow continuously, businesses that generate revenue even when the owner isn't there, automated structures that keep money circulating. It's not about waiting for the right moment. It's about creating something that continues, working in silence. Most remain trapped in their own daily effort, counting on a raise, a bonus, a stroke of luck. But that path has limits because it depends on available time. Systems, however, don't have that limitation. They're what make money flow, multiply and grow without depending on your exhaustion, your mood or your clock. Those who create systems advance. Those who wait for luck stagnate. And this is where the true difference begins. Rule number 2. Financial mindset defines the path even before money appears. It's impressive how many people carry beliefs that sabotage any possibility of prosperity. Growing up hearing that money is difficult, dirty, complicated, or inaccessible creates a filter that limits everything that comes after. When someone believes they'll never have enough money, the brain starts looking only for evidence to confirm that. And then it always seems like nothing improves. The opportunity goes unnoticed, the investment seems risky, the chance to grow seems too far away. The person lives with the feeling that money is an enemy that's always escaping. On the other hand, those who see money as a tool develop a completely different behavior. Instead of fear, there's curiosity. Instead of resistance, there's openness. Instead of thinking It's not for me. The question arises, how can I learn this? This contrast changes everything. The right mindset allows seeing possibilities where others only see problems. It allows identifying growth paths that go unnoticed by those living trapped in the idea of scarcity. And over time, this way of thinking becomes a habit, analyzing better, noticing opportunities, testing, correcting, advancing. Many people think wealth begins in the bank account, but it begins much earlier. It begins in the head. When the mind is limited, money flees. When the mind expands, money finds space to enter. And that's why this rule is so powerful. Those who see money as an ally progress. Those who see it as a threat remain exactly in the same place, even if they work their whole life. If this video has already started opening your mind and showing you things nobody explained before, then go ahead and like it now, because this helps this content reach more people who also need to awaken to these rules. Rule number 3. Real wealth begins when money starts working in your place. As long as your income depends exclusively on your presence, you remain trapped in a routine that never gives you a break. It's like always pushing a rock uphill. Any pause makes everything stop. Most people live in this model. They receive only when they work, and this creates an invisible limit that controls their entire life. If they don't work, they don't receive. If they get sick, they don't receive. If they lose their job, everything collapses. This is called financial slavery, time sold in exchange for money. The difference is that those who understand the right rules set up income sources that keep working even when they're not there. It could be rent coming in every month. It could be an investment earning while you do something else. It could be a business you organize once, and it continues generating revenue constantly. The feeling of freedom begins right there, when money starts moving on its own, without demanding you sacrifice more hours of your day. And the more this type of income grows, the more you can breathe, plan, choose calmly. It's at this point that life changes, because you stop depending on continuous effort and start depending on strategy. This rule makes the following clear. Working is important, but working forever is not a wealth plan. The wealth plan is building mechanisms that keep working for you. Money that depends only on your strength tires. Money that works alone transforms. Rule number 4. Financial education is always worth more than any diploma hanging on the wall. And this isn't to discredit studying. It's recognizing that the right type of knowledge is what defines the final result. Many people spend years studying to have a good job, but never learn anything about investments, interest, taxes, business or growth strategies. Result, they work a lot, earn enough to live, and continue without understanding how to multiply what they earn. Meanwhile, those who grow financially dedicate time to learning what really matters: how money moves, how it increases, how it's protected, and how it's used intelligently. It's not memorizing formulas, it's understanding how the game works. That's why some people with fewer diplomas manage to advance faster than those who spent half their lives in classrooms. They study every day, but they study what brings returns. Finance, business, management, risks, opportunities, taxes, investments. This is the type of knowledge that doesn't depend on luck and doesn't lose value over time. Financial education shows how to see beyond the salary. It shows how to transform small amounts into great results. It shows how to use money strategically and not emotionally. In the end, the difference is clear. Those who accumulate diplomas have a resume. Those who accumulate financial education have freedom, and freedom is worth much more. Rule number 5, action always beats fear. Many people know what they should do, but simply don't do it. They know strategies, understand concepts, watch videos, read books, but remain stuck, waiting for the ideal moment. But the perfect moment never arrives. There never was and never will be a completely safe scenario to begin. Meanwhile, those who accumulate wealth do exactly the opposite. They act first, adjust later. Not because they don't feel fear, but because they understand that fear can't decide the future. They make quick decisions, test, correct, improve, and evolve. It's this constant movement that creates results. The problem is, many people think they need to know everything before taking the first step. They believe they can only invest when they understand everything, can only start a business when they have absolute certainty, can only change when nothing bad can happen. And this search for total security becomes a silent prison. Fear creates excuses. It's not the right time, I don't know everything yet. What if it goes wrong? I'll wait a bit longer. And while these phrases repeat, life doesn't change. Time passes, opportunities go away, and the person remains exactly where they were. The truth is simple. Nobody grows without acting. It's action that breaks cycles. It's action that generates real learning. It's action that opens doors. And even when the path needs adjustments, the person who acts is already miles ahead of those still thinking. In the end, wealth isn't about knowing more. It's about doing more. Knowledge opens the eyes, but action opens the paths. The strongest point of this rule is that fear doesn't disappear with time. It grows. The more you postpone, the harder it becomes to start. And that's why so many people remain stuck in the same financial routine for years. It's not lack of knowledge, it's excess hesitation. Hesitation silently steals opportunities. The investment that could have started small and grown becomes a maybe someday. The idea that could become extra income transforms into doubt. The project that could change everything is shelved without even being tested. Meanwhile, those who decide to act transform knowledge into practice. They don't start big, they start simple. They don't seek perfection, they seek progress. And this difference, however discreet it may seem at first, is gigantic in the long run. The person who acts learns in real life, not just in theory. They understand the market with their own eyes. They feel the movement of money. They realize what works and what needs adjustment. And this experience creates confidence, which in turn creates more action. And the wheel starts turning. Fear paralyzes. Action liberates. And that's why so many people look back and realize it wasn't chances that were lacking. It was courage to try. Wealth isn't built with promises, thoughts, or perfect plans. Wealth is built with steps, even if small, taken repeatedly. Rule 5 makes this clear. Those who act early harvest early. Those who act late live running behind. And those who never act remain stuck in the same place, no matter how much they dream of change. Money always finds the path of those who deliver real value to the world, because in the end, it's just the natural consequence of problems being solved efficiently, consistently, and usefully. Most people spend their lives believing they earn little due to lack of luck or recognition, when in reality, what determines the size of the return is the size of the problem they choose to face. Since small problems generate small rewards, while more complex and more challenging problems move much larger financial flows. A large part of the population limits themselves to repeating basic tasks every day, believing that mechanical effort alone is enough to create prosperity. But since these tasks don't increase the value delivered to the market, the financial result also remains stagnant, creating the feeling that nothing ever changes, no matter how much the person dedicates themselves and tries. Meanwhile, those who commit to developing skills capable of transforming others' lives, whether helping someone save time, make money, reduce losses, learn something important, or facilitate some process, begin to discover that money appears as a natural response to this positive impact. The greater someone's capacity to generate transformation, the greater the speed with which new opportunities arise, and the more these opportunities accumulate, the more the market begins to see this person as indispensable. This is how ordinary professionals reach extraordinary levels, not by working more, but by solving challenges that few people have the courage or preparation to face. In the end, these two rules make clear that there's no limit to the growth of those who decide to expand their usefulness in the world, because when value increases, money simply follows, without resistance, without delay, and without the need to chase after it desperately. Many people believe it's only worth celebrating when they make a lot of money, when they close a gigantic deal, or when they reach a huge goal. But reality is completely different. Those who really advance in the financial game are those who learn to transform each small victory into fuel to keep growing. It's that person who realizes that saving $20 today doesn't immediately change life, but changes the mindset. Because if they can repeat this tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and next week, suddenly they look back and realize they built something solid, something that previously seemed impossible. This perception changes everything, because each small daily victory creates consistency, and consistency creates a cycle of progress. And when you enter this cycle, stopping is no longer a natural option. You start to feel the desire to continue, to improve, to climb one more step. And that's why so many people give up, because they ignore the small victories. They seem too simple, too slow, too discreet. But precisely because they're discreet, they build wealth silently, without depending on luck, without depending on a stroke of luck or an extraordinary event. It's you, at your pace, advancing every day, until the result becomes impossible to ignore. And look, if this video is helping you see money more clearly, go ahead and like it right now. This helps the channel tremendously to reach more people who also need to hear this. Many people start excited. They make plans, create goals, buy a new notebook, promise that now they will. But after a few days, motivation disappears. Because motivation always disappears, and that's when most fall into the trap of returning to old habits. But there's a small group that advances, the one that understands that wealth isn't built on the strength of emotion, but on the strength of routine. When you transform your financial habits into something automatic, predictable, repeated, you start depending less on the mood of the moment and more on the structure you created. And this makes a gigantic difference. Because while half the people are oscillating, going back and forth, promising, "I'll start Monday," the person who built routine continues accumulating, investing, improving and evolving, even on days when they're not so excited. Routine becomes a kind of track that keeps you on the right path, even when your mind tries to pull you toward distraction. And the most interesting thing is that when you master this, money responds. It grows calmly, grows at the right pace, grows without noise. And when you realize it, that stability that seemed distant begins to become a natural part of your life. Because silent wealth is this: less emotion, more structure, less impulses, more repetition, less promise, more practice. When someone decides to improve their life, the first reaction is usually to tell everyone, friends, colleagues, relatives. It's almost as if the person seeks approval to validate what they're trying to do. But this creates a dangerous effect. The more you talk, the more energy you lose, the more opinions you receive, the more distractions appear, and less focus remains to actually build what matters. Silence works as a shield. It protects you from comparisons, from demands, from comments that discourage, and even from expectations that put weight on your shoulders. In silence, you walk at your pace, without needing to prove anything to anyone. You make mistakes without an audience, adjust without pressure, improve without judgment. And when nobody is watching you, you feel free to truly evolve. That's why so many results appear precisely when you quiet the external noise. Because what was once dispersion becomes concentration, what was once anxiety becomes clarity, and what was once haste becomes consistency. And when all this aligns, you start to notice that the progress that seemed slow begins to accelerate. Not because you're doing more, but because you're finally doing it right. There's something powerful about working behind the scenes. While everyone shows every step on social media, every small decision, every micro-achievement, you continue in silence, adjusting your life, organizing your money, creating new habits, and strengthening your mindset. And this type of construction, even seeming slow to the eyes of those observing from outside, is extremely solid inside. Because when nobody is expecting anything from you, the pressure disappears. And when pressure disappears, the mind works better. You think clearly, make decisions calmly, stop acting on impulse, and start acting strategically. And it's exactly this change that, little by little, puts you in an advantageous position, not over others, but over your old self. And then comes the moment when what you've been doing in silence begins to appear. Choices are reflected in your behavior, your accounts start to change, your planning takes shape, your results begin to emerge without you needing to announce anything. And people are surprised, how did you achieve this? But the true victory isn't in their reaction. It's in the peace you feel, realizing you built everything with consistency, awareness, and maturity. Without fanfare, without haste, without broadcasting, just doing what needed to be done. As you follow this journey, something curious begins to happen. Even before money appears, before results arrive, your vision changes. And when vision changes, everything around seems different, not because life became easy, but because you became more prepared. It's as if you finally started seeing paths that were always there, but that haste, fear, and the old habit of just surviving had left invisible. You begin to realize that opportunities don't come out of nowhere. They appear when you have enough clarity to recognize them. And this clarity comes from the silent process you've been building up to here. Gradually, you stop blaming the government, the boss, the salary, the crisis, the people around you, and understand that the true turnaround happens when you take command of your choices. It's at this moment you realize you don't need the world to improve for you to improve. First you improve, and then the world responds. And curiously, it always responds. Always. When you change the way you think, you change the way you decide. When you change the way you decide, you change the way you act. And when you change the way you act, your entire life changes along with it. In the end of everything, after each rule, each reflection, and each awakening, there's a simple but powerful conclusion. Nobody will build your wealth for you. The world won't hand you ready opportunities, the government won't solve your problems, and waiting for life to change on its own only leaves you stuck in the same place for another 10 years. Change begins when you decide to stop living on autopilot and start playing the money game with the right rules. And when you do this, when you truly take on this responsibility, something incredible happens. Life responds. It always responds, first slowly, then faster, until one day you realize that old feeling of chasing your own tail has disappeared, and in its place emerged the clarity, stability, and freedom you've been seeking your whole life. And if you've made it this far, it's because some part inside you already understood that you don't want to live as a slave to money anymore, running, paying bills, waiting for the month to turn. You want the next level. You want the turnaround. And you can have it as long as you begin. Now, before finishing, let me ask you something important. If this video opened your mind, helped you, or made you see financial life in another way, like this video now, it's not just a button. It's the signal you send saying, I'm ready to change, and so are you.